We'll figure it out during the session because here it goes. Here we are. And hi, Wole. After some technical issues, we are finally here. So good morning to you and good afternoon to me, as we are in two different continents. And thank you for accepting our invitation and joining this new episode of A Cup of Theatre. Hi.
Hi, Marco. Good morning.
Yeah. Reading is sexy. Absolutely. I agree with you.
That's what it says.
Yeah. And before we start, I'm actually curious, how is the COVID situation there in Canada where you are right now?
It's Canada didn't have a lockdown that was complete.
Mm-hmm.
Canada shut its borders, but it didn't stop people from moving around. Well, they advised that you moved around for only necessary things, but
Okay.
no one was flogging anyone on the streets like India or Nigeria or anything like that. Yeah. So yeah, people kind of behaved themselves. So if it wasn't compulsory, if you didn't have to go to the hospital, you didn't go. That kind of thing. So but the lockdown was not like totally rigid, but they respected it. It was. I'm not sure I'd use lockdown. There were taxes if you wanted, but you really had to have business outside.
Of course. Yeah. Were you forced to stop in the middle of something? Were you working on a show, or did you have some rehearsal?
Yeah. I was planning to book a venue for a major venue for a theater here, and I had to stop. All plans stopped. Of course, no one is going to go into any theater for a while until they know what's happening. So I was planning to do a show in June, and well, here we are.
Yeah, of course.
Here we are months after.
Okay, Wole. By the time we give the possibility to some other people to connect to our live streaming, I have a small tradition in my conversation, just to say something about my guests to present them a little. So I just read a few things I could catch from different articles I read about you. Yeah. So just to start, Wole Oguntokun. Is it correctly pronounced?
Yeah, that's it. Wole Oguntokun. Yeah.
Oguntokun. Okay,
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
So you are a Nigerian playwright, stage and film director, as well as theater administrator and newspaper columnist.
That's what Wikipedia says.
Okay, yeah, exactly. But I might add that you are also a lawyer, as you are graduated in law, as far as I remember.
I have a master's degree in law, and I've been called to the Nigerian bar. I have a second master's as well, also in something related to the law. But yeah, so yeah, I'm a lawyer.
Okay, that's great. And you are the artistic director of the Renegade Theatre, which is a major Nigerian performing arts company. And you were one of 5 Nigerian theatre directors selected by the British Council to be part of a theatre directors residency and workshop in the United Kingdom in 2011. And you were also one of 2 Nigerians selected as a British Council delegate to Edinburgh Festival Fringe Scotland.
Yes.
Well,
things have moved up a bit since then. I took the first Nigerian plays to Edinburgh, to the Fringe.
Yeah. Was it?
I took the only Nigerian plays. Nobody has followed since then. I was the first Nigerian theatre director to perform at Shakespeare's Globe in London. Well, I've performed with Renegade Theatre in America, in Rwanda, and in Ghana. So yeah, we kind of hop around.
Yeah.
A bit. Yeah, I was a fellow of ISPA, the International Society for the Performing Arts, in New York. So yeah, there's been a bit.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And did you bring the Chibok girls in Scotland at the Festival Fringe?
I took it to the Cross Currents Festival in Washington D.C. last year. We had plans for the Fringe, but the COVID situation, is not very encouraging right now.
Of course.
For that kind of thing.
Of course. I just wanted to be as much clear as possible about your background, because personally I think that your background tells really a lot about your work as a playwright, because if nobody knows that you have also a lawyer background, I think somebody might not understand completely the soul of your works. And I focused especially about the Chibok girls. Your one, I must say, so far one of your most known theater plays.
It is quite known, yes. It is.
Yeah, exactly. And I have also I wrote down an abstract of your text, which caught really clearly my attention, and I would like to write it for you. At a certain point, you said you wrote a really beautiful metaphor. You said, "It is better for a lion to lead 1,000 goats than for a goat to lead 1,000 lions. There was a time when we were certain our leader was not a lion." And I think personally it explains also a lot about your text, because by reading this metaphor, it comes also outside and underneath the theme, in my opinion, which is the Nigerian government not opposing to Boko Haram's threat. And I would like to ask you to tell me a little bit more about it, and maybe if you could first just explain what Boko Haram is, maybe for the ones who might not know about it, would be just a very clear overview about the situation you wrote in your text.
Okay, yes. Well, Boko Haram will be the Nigerian equivalent of West African, actually, equivalent of Islamic State, IS.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, Boko Haram became affiliated to Islamic State, and at one time, its name was changed to the Islamic State of the West African Province.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, yeah, ISWAP. So Boko Haram has practically terrorized the northeast of Nigeria. Practically torn it apart. They would pillage, they would rape, they'd kill, and with the pretext that they wanted to set up an Islamic State, and then would even set up their own encampments in those places. You know, and this had gone on for a while. In 2014, they got very bold. They marched into the town called Chibok, and they took more than 270 girls. They lifted them. They went in there and they took them out on foot, and then went into the bushes. There's a Sambisa forest that's maybe like 76 times bigger than New York City.
Yeah.
And they
read.
went in there. They went in there. Yeah, it's a massive forest.
Yeah, I read the details.
Chad.
Yeah, I read the details about that.
Places.
About that forest is really huge. Is just
it's massive.
So impressive.
And so then they took these children there. They took these girls there. Girls ranging from ages maybe 14 to about 18. And about half of them have not been seen in 5-6 years. Some were released, some escaped, some died, some had the Stockholm syndrome and got married to the people who abducted them. But they were children. And for a long time, our government then, under Jonathan Goodluck, was very... They first denied that there was anything going on. They denied... We had conspiracy theories swirling around, people saying, you know, these children, these girls were delivered into the hands of Boko Haram. Like, why would you tell anybody to be in school at a time like that? Why would you force children into school at a time when COVID is at its highest? You know, I'm just saying. Why would you say go to school when you know that there's a high risk of contagion? Why would you say when people were abducting, they were taking grown-ups from the streets, They were taking them from the marketplaces. They were taking them on lonely paths. You send girls without protection. And the soldiers left the city that night. They left the town the night the girls were abducted. They didn't think the girls were a target, apparently. But the girls were taken in a massive, massive publicity gaining stunt. They took all those girls, and we haven't seen them since. And the government didn't respond on time. It took months for the government to respond, and I think it was one of the things that led to the downfall of the government. Now, the subsequent government said that it would handle it all in 6 months. They still haven't. Boko Haram is still there, and it's still marauding, and it's still killing soldiers. Soldiers are still not being given enough weapons. Help is still not being accepted from other governments, to help and all that. Soldiers, there are videos of soldiers complaining and saying they don't have enough weaponry to fight these people, and cursing the government. So that's where we are. It is a terrible thing, and unfortunately, that story, the Chibok girls, is going to be relevant for a long while, because it is the reality of some people in the northeastern part of Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
It is the reality. Nigeria is, if you look at where I live in Nigeria, Lagos, it's like a different country. But up north, there are people who don't know if they're going to get home alive, or your village heads are going to have to offer you as tributes to Boko Haram. It's almost like medieval times. Almost like medieval times. And they raise the black flag. And so they have conquered your city, your village. So people are dying. I have met girls whose fathers were killed in the most barbaric ways. I met them in person. It's a fearful thing.
Yeah, that's really horrible.
Yeah.
And as far as I read from your text, also there is also this awareness of the situation, of how the situation was going on, because apart from Chibok's kidnapping, who was of course a really big deal in Nigeria, but as far as I read, there were also other kidnappings that were going on in other cities and in the past days. So actually, as you were saying a few moments ago, actually people knew that there was a really dangerous situation, and so it is really it contributes to make a very heavy atmosphere around this kind of situation, because as far as you know that some things are going on, you're just wondering why the government is not doing anything. Why are they just
so why can't you? What's the purpose of government if you can't protect the people? That's a social contract. You're meant to protect the people. People aren't meant to defend themselves. You have vigilante groups all over that place trying to protect themselves. But sometimes Boko Haram comes with heavy weaponry seized from the army, and the level entire communities. So what do you do when you're facing firepower like that, and they take who they want to take, or say we're ruling over you, and you're part of a country. You're part of a country. It's very sad.
Of course,
it's very sad.
It's very sad also, not only for the thing itself, but also because there was another monologue into the text about a girl who came back from the Chibok's kidnapping, and who was pregnant of one of the kidnappers. But the sad thing was that all the people from her home country, from her home city, they were actually judging her, just saying, "You are the wife of Boko Haram," even though she was forced to join.
There were the people who couldn't defend her. She was taken. She was unfortunate to be taken. She managed to come back pregnant, but so it's not even a single story. There are lots of stories like that.
I can imagine. I can only imagine.
I want stigmata. Yeah, you have been touched by the devil. You have been touched by the devil, and we will have no part with you. So she loses on all fronts. She doesn't
Hmm.
have the community to shield her, to help her at a time when she's most desperate. You know, It-
Of
it's
course.
it's a really horrible, fearful thing. It's a
Hmm.
thing that's alien to the Western world. It's impossible. Maybe this would have happened in the days of the Crusades, in the 1500s.
Yeah.
But now in the 21st century, in the 21st century, people are able. ISIS has been crushed now, hopefully, but we still have Boko Haram. We still have ISWAP. They're in there, still fighting. So yeah, that is the horrible
The
nature of
real.
what we face.
Yeah, the reality, the
Yeah.
horrible reality. And of course, in writing this text, you had a very clear source of inspiration, because the Chibok kidnapping was an historical fact, was something that happened for real. And I would like just to step a little bit apart from the political environment, and ask you something about your artistic process. So when you write a new play, a new script, a new playwright, uh, what's your starting point? Where do you start from? Do you start from an image? Do you start from a political theme? Do you start from something that really happened, like this case? How does it work, your creative process?
It's a mix of all. It depends on the play. I'm writing something now
Mm-hmm.
on the matter of a Nigerian who stowed away on a ship to Britain in 1958.
Okay.
Um, he stowed, yeah, he stowed away on a ship. When he got there, he was in prison for a month because he came illegally. But according to the British, he was a Commonwealth citizen, so he was allowed to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Officially, he was a citizen, but he was jailed for a month for. And then he joined the system, he began to work and do and all that. And I think he got married, but he fell on bad times. He had, I think, lost work. He had mental health issues.
Mm.
And after a while, after years, I think he traveled in 1958. Maybe like 10, 11 years later, he was living on the streets, living in shop fronts in Leeds, in the UK.
In Leeds, yeah, of
Two
course.
policemen, senior police, yeah, two senior police officers made it a sport of going to look for him every night to beat him
Mm.
and urinate on him. And well, one day, one day, I think a bus conductor saw a black man running down the riverside, chased by two uniformed policemen.
Mm.
He was never seen again. They fished his body out. He was dead from the river. So that for me is a story I read and I knew I had to write on as well because he was Nigerian. He died in the UK like that.
Mm.
And we see now, I've been wanting to write this for like 5 years now. So basically it's been fermenting in my head. Um, he was Nigerian, he died in the UK. That's an idea. Sometimes it's a conversation. I spoke in the United States one day to a class, uh, Professor Elizabeth Bradley's class, something to do with global arts and global theater management. And one young girl was really distraught. This was 2014. She was really distraught. She said, how can you be a Nigerian playwright and not have written on the Chibok girls? That's what she said. And I was amused, because the things I face are different.
Mhm.
You write on the Chibok girls, you're going to get government attention, as I have. They're going to look at you. They're going to send people to come watch you. When I went to Rwanda, government agents came to watch me perform. They were
Wow.
discovered. And you're going to get death threats from Boko Haram, as I did.
Mm.
But there are things we calculate that are different from what the rest of the world calculates. Sometimes you look at it and think, can I manage this? Can I handle this at this particular time? Am I able? So yes, it's a mix. It's a mix. Sometimes it's an idea. Sometimes it's something that ferments in your mind for a while that grows. Sometimes it's a thought, and you think, I really ought to add my two pence to this story, or I really shouldn't let the hunter tell the story. Sometimes the lion should tell the story. That's how it comes to me sometimes.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
And I must say, sadly, it is very very actual. This story about this this black man chased and probably killed by police officers,
Yeah.
as we.
His name was his name was David Oluwale, and they will feel his nationality in police forms. There are actual forms and write WOG, WOG. That's a word for nigger. They will write, the policemen were actually filling that out. They didn't bother with his nationality. That's how they saw him. He was dehumanized. So, well, that's something we have to face up to. And I will write that as well.
Of course.
All he wanted was a better life. That's all he wanted.
Of course.
He didn't get it.
And in this case, when you want to write about something that has really happened, how do you proceed in your writing? Do you take as many information as you can catch? For example, newspaper articles or some other sources that might have be present to the fact, or might have heard about it directly from other sources. And so in this case, you just put different sources together, like in a journalistic way, or you just take inspiration from the fact and you just put your own words, your own vision about the fact.
Well, often newspaper articles, if it's historical, factual reports, like in the Chibok Girls, reports from survivors.
Yeah.
People who have worked in these matters, people who have social workers. So often I make it as factual as possible. So it's often fiction based on fact.
Yeah.
Faction.
That's
what we like to call it back.
I like this definition. Faction.
We say faction. Yeah, that's what my mentor calls it, the Nobel laureate Wole Oguntokun. It says faction.
Faction.
So as much as possible, we try to faction. So it's fiction based on fact.
Yeah, I understand.
And then the playwright kicks in, where you begin to visualize now what must have happened, how it must have gone. Because in 200 years, someone's going to be reading this, and this might be the only fairly accurate report they have. It will shed light as to the circumstances. And I think that's why the drama is important in circumstances like that. We, in some ways, where it's a chronology of what's happening. It's a chronicle of the times. It's a chronicle of the times as those things go on. Yeah, so that's what I want to do with David Oluwale.
Yeah, and I want to do with him. Of course. And as far as I read, it's not obviously it's not only faction as you were saying, but it is also, of course, in my opinion, it is also a matter of just vehiculating the fact with some other elements that you have. Of course, as you describe yourself as a playwright, as a lawyer, and as a poet also. And I might and I might say that in your work this poetic element is really present. There was another passage in your text in the last monologue. I'm always talking about the Chibok Girls. In the last monologue, who was titled "The Legion of the Damned," there was a passage that really caught my attention. I read it for you again. We were too young to be left in our villages, for there was nothing left of it. Scorched earth, burnt grass, mud walls, and plastered cement broken into rubble and rapidly becoming the home of the rodents. This is a very beautiful image, a very vivid image, and this, to me, it represents the poetic side of your writing. And in this matter, I would like to ask you, what is the difference, in your opinion, of course, between a poetic language and theater language? How are they connected, and what are the differences between them, if there are some, of course, in your opinion?
I suspect it's a writing style of. I suspect it's a writing style of people. Mine, we have the president of I think he's still president of the Penn Center in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Was my classmate. He's a lawyer too. He was my classmate in university, and he told me then he's won many prizes in poetry, but he's an actual poet. That's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
But he told me then that what I was doing, he said he said what I was doing was writing poetry on stage. That's when he first called me. That was many years ago. He said I was writing poetry on stage. So it's my style. It's the kind of language I use.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people are a bit more Shakespearean, George Bernard Shaw-ish. Some people are a bit more. But I write it. I write. I see those images, and I try to put them down. And sometimes, if you look at the Chibok Girls, it's not even written in such a way that the dialogue is one person speaks and the other returns. One person. They're written like monologues, like poetry.
Yeah.
Same with my Tarzan monologues. They're written like poetry. So even though they're performed on stage, they're poetic verses. So yeah, but that's my style, and that's my style. So it depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I just think this is the way I'm going to take this work. This is where I'm going to take it this work because there's some stories I don't think you can tell. You take some particular things, you can't tell them from. It has to be poetry. It has to be poetry, I think, for the power to be felt. They can't be one-liners or two-liners. They have to be entire verses. Things that tell the story, that paint the picture, that show the skies, show what the person has seen, and they show the person's world and the person's feelings. It has to be poetry. It has to be poetry.
Mm-hmm. Really interesting.
That's why I write like that.
Yeah. Do you also write poems for itself, or not?
I do, but I think my poems now. I used to, but
Okay.
I actually have a collection of poetry. Yeah, but my poems now have kind of fully been. They're fully immersed in the playwriting now. At one time, I actually used to write poems.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, at one time. But I hear when you get to the age of 25 or 30, like it just dries up totally. You can't, for some reason, it comes out. The poetry comes out in my plays. I think.
And
That's what I think.
if we look at this period, at this crazy period, just affecting all the world with the pandemic, what would be, in your opinion, a metaphor which could describe the situation which is going on between people in this period? How would you describe it?
It's incredible. It's unbelievable. You know, I used to ask myself, what would I do if someone dropped a bomb in a theater in Nigeria? I think, you know, so if someone drops a bomb here, So what do I do as a theater practitioner? Because people have to come to the theater. And then this thing came and didn't drop a bomb in the theater in Nigeria. It dropped it all over the world. And so suddenly we're forced to reassess ourselves. How do we continue to spread the message? How do we do our life's work? How do we do what we're chosen to do, what we're born to do? So yeah, for me, I still haven't taken it all in. I can still write. I'm still writing now. I'm writing for a film project now, a play within a film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very peculiar, but it's very peculiar.
Is it a Nigerian production or a Canadian production?
It's actually French.
A French production. Okay, totally another country.
Totally out.
Yeah,
so it's actually French. Yeah, but what so but one can still continue one's work, but I haven't figured it all out. What this situation has done to the world. Honestly, I'm looking at it, I haven't figured it all out.
Yeah,
I haven't figured it.
Of course, but the most incredible thing to me about this situation is that many researchers, many scientists all over the world define it as the most dangerous crisis in the world after the Second World War, because it is something that is affecting all the world at the same time, but it is affecting all kind of people, no matter their cultural backgrounds, no matter their works. It is affecting everybody.
Exactly. Since 1945.
Yeah.
That's a
Precisely.
fearful thing. I mean, at a time when people died all over the world, and now they're comparing this to that. So it really is a fearful thing. It really is a fearful thing. I don't let it, I try not to let it worry me, because I mean, but I am baffled. It's just so totally. I didn't see it coming.
Well, of course, nobody did.
Yeah, sometimes you imagine the worst, but in this case, I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect this.
Of course.
Yeah, I didn't expect this.
And how is reacting Nigeria, the theater, the Nigerian theater environment to the crisis? Because this was also a question I was very curious to hear from you, because I would like to know also how is the theater environment in Nigeria. I'm talking about in terms of public financial support to the theaters, private support, and performing arts school. And how is? Could you just describe me a panoramic, an overview about the Nigerians' theater environment?
So there really was no government support for theater.
Not at all.
So now these practitioners who have, fought their way, to the stage, fought their way to present, to produce, to direct, found their own resources, have to reinvent themselves. They have to reinvent the process all over again. And maybe because everything is online now, they might find an international market. But right now, at this moment, it's still up in the air. Hopefully, there might be an international market for because, well, now you can't. I took a team of 6 to Washington D.C. to perform last year, but no one's going to say come perform at this festival this year on account of the situation, because who are you going to put in the theater except they film you, and then they can film you and put it there. Then there's nothing that stops you from filming yourselves then, and then sending it to other shows, other festivals. So we have to think about it and reinvent ourselves and reinvent the process. We're rather hardy lot. We like to fight. We like to find a way around things. So I'm believing that people will survive this as well. I'm believing we'll survive this as well. It's rather rough at the moment. They've never had any support, and if they're saying there are palliatives in some countries for artists, it's not in Nigeria. They don't think about artists. As far as they're concerned, artists are troublesome people writing about things like Chibok girls when you shouldn't talk about them. You know? So yeah.
Okay. And are there? What about performing arts school here? Is there some kind of performing arts education provided by schools? Is it
universities? A lot of universities have a lot of universities. There's some private academies as well, but a lot of universities have. Most universities have performing arts, creative arts, theater arts. There's always there's formal training. We have learned professors in it. There's formal training. The point is what you do with it when you leave. The avenues that are created when you're formally trained, or even trained not in a university, but trained by being mentored or being affiliated to a theater group or theater, a reputable theater company. What do you do with it after? Therein lies the problem we have, because we don't have the infrastructure of Europe or North America. We lack that infrastructure. We lack the support.
Mm-hmm.
No, so that's a problem we have.
Yeah, that's a very tough situation.
That's a problem we have. So you have a lot of you have geniuses who might never get a chance to present themselves internationally, even nationally. Geniuses in the arts, great performers, great set designers, but there's no avenue. So they go to Instagram and they begin to do skits, and it's a lack of opportunity.
And what about Renegade Theatre, your theater? How is it dealing with the situation with the pandemic? How does it work? Because Renegade Theatre is a major Nigerian theater company. So how does it work?
Well, as in the name, Renegade, it means we don't follow any laws. We continue to reinvent ourselves too. But what we do, we like to think that we're not in a building, that we're a movement. And the idea of Renegade Theatre is to be an internationally recognized touring theater company. Now, whether we can move around physically or virtually is the issue now. So Renegade Theatre itself is at the point of reinvention. We were brought about because we were looking for a way to perform in the eye of a lack of government support. That's how Renegade Theatre came about. And a lack of support from the public sector, from the private sector. We just wanted to put things up.
Yeah.
And so now in this situation, we have to find a way to appeal not only to the Nigerian sector, but also to the world. So if a French director can call me and say, "Well, you write a play that's going to be included in my movie," then maybe an Italian one, a Danish one, an American one, that's Renegade Theatre. I can say, "You guys put something together and we'll film it," and we march on.
Of course. And what about the audience in Nigeria? Is the audience does the audience go to the theater usually, or is there a vibrant amount of audience in that go to the theaters in Nigeria? How is the situation?
Well, before COVID, we had an audience. We had a theater-going audience. We had people who loved to see live shows, who understood the magic. We had diehards. There are people who've watched my plays for 10 years who ask, when is the next play up? When is the next play up? So we have people like that. We have total diehards. and then a situation like this comes up, and it disperses audiences, and that's what we're looking at now. But yeah, Nigeria has an arts-loving community. It has a theater-loving community. It has yeah, I like to think all Nigerians are theater makers. I like to think so. Even the guys on the streets, they're always putting up something. Everything is a show. Everything is a show, even the way of life. Yeah. So yeah, I like to see all Nigerians as theater makers. Yeah, and everyone's ready. Everyone's ready. If you say site specific, if you do something in the marketplace, Nigerians will gather. They'll gather to look and ask, what's up? And,
yeah, that's really nice to hear.
So yeah.
And we were talking before about the play you're writing right now, about that Nigerian man who was murdered in the UK, and we said before that unfortunately it is very, very actual, because everybody knows about George Floyd. Everybody heard about his murdered by from the police cops and whatever, and it was actually really, really incredible to see the reaction all over the world from all kind of people just standing for what happened to George Floyd. And also the Canadian Prime Minister made a lot in this matter. Also, his 20 seconds of silence in his speech just ran all over the world. It was really an amazing response. But I was just wondering about this response, especially in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement, because of course it is a very good movement. It is a lovable movement. But I was just wondering, and I would like also to hear your point of view about it, because your opinion, is it Black Lives Matter movement something we should be proud of as humanity? I mean, millions of people all over the world standing for Black people's rights, or from another perspective, is this something we should be a little bit, as humanity, of course, a little bit ashamed of? Because I mean, in 2020, we still need somebody who stands for Black people's rights, and we're not anymore in medieval times. We're not anymore in the prehistory. So, from a certain perspective, the need of these kind of movements would also point to the racist nature of humanity. And so, in this way, maybe isn't this something we should be also ashamed of? What is your opinion about it?
America is a shameful place. Yeah. And anywhere else, racism is practiced. I have never been able to understand how one person looks at another and thinks on account of a lack of melanin, he is superior in some way. I have never been able to figure it out. I go around the world. I think I'm brighter than a lot of people. It doesn't matter their color. It's a personal thing. I think I'm bright. It doesn't matter the color.
Of course, doesn't matter at all.
But I would be crazy to discriminate against people. So somebody talks to you and I think, oh, this isn't very bright, But I would be crazy to discriminate against people based on an issue like that. To say, I think you're lesser than I am. It is because these people, I've read quite a bit on this matter, as all of us have. It is because these people, those who are racist, those who are racist do not see the other person as actually human. I heard in America, when they will count the black people as 3/5 of a human. 3/5 of a human. And so, of course, the black people there, from the times when they were forced to America for economic purposes to work in their textile factories and on their cotton farms, the black people learned to hide their intelligence. They learned because, yeah, if you look too smart, you'd probably get killed for it. Or if you sounded too smart, or you could. But the North Africans, for centuries, they've been slave trading white people. It's for centuries, for thousands of years. They catch them in their deserts and they turn them. The slavery thing, the racism thing is honestly totally beyond me. And anyone who isn't black and doesn't stand with this purpose must be standing on the side of the racists. There's no middle ground.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. I am so moved by the fact that there's so many young people who are white in America, in Germany, everywhere in the world, who are marching side by side with the Dhaka brothers and sisters, who are protesting, and they mean it, because they cannot comprehend a world in which you look at another person and I keep cartoons. You'd have refugees coming into Europe, and there was a time a gorilla caught a 4-year-old boy and was turning in a zoo. I think it was in America, and was turning I don't know what country it was, and was like dragging the boy at like 30 kilometers an hour in the water until they shot the gorilla.
Yeah.
And people cried. And I kept a cartoon. Some cartoonists drew people on a ship, and they've had a gorilla in a cage, and said maybe if they see this gorilla, they'll let us in. It's very funny, but it's also very sad.
Yeah.
That's the way we think. People value their gorillas and their dogs. They value their dogs more than the life of the black man. There is a problem. I watched a video of a girl who said, they're saying people shouldn't burn things down. But she said, on the streets, there are 3 sets of people. They're the protesters, they're the rioters, who just want to destroy everything because of anger, and then they're the looters. And you should ask. So the president of America says, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. But the question is, you want to ask, what would make a grown man go through shards of glass to try to get a TV? It's because he doesn't think he'll ever have a chance. He has a fighting chance to be able to acquire something like that. It is a sad thing. So you must look at the circumstances. Look at the picture behind it. She says she doesn't care if Target burns down, if anything burns down, because Target was silent. Because Target funded whoever they funded, they were silent in the face of these continuing things. And she says, America should be glad that the black people are looking for equality and not for revenge. America should be glad. The way they paint black men, their superhuman strength, they're monstrous, they're out to rape white women. It's a dehumanization. It's a lack of. It's the fact that they look, and a lot of people don't even know they're racist. That's the point. I have black friends. That's what they say. I have black friends. But what does that mean? If a human can kneel on the neck of another human for 9 minutes, there's a fundamental problem with that country. In Nigeria, someone would have kicked his teeth out under a minute. Mm-hmm. They'd have killed him. That's the way it is. They would have 9 minutes on the neck of a human because you carried a gun and a badge. 9 minutes. It wasn't. You can't kill a goat. You can't kill a cow for 9 minutes. Someone's going to say, "What are you doing?" But he knelt on the neck of a human. 2nd-degree murder charge. These issues are deep, and I'm not even African American. The police will not do this to me back home. I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
not understand how they are able to wake up every morning and go to work, not knowing if they're going to come back, or someone's going to pull them, or someone's going to look at them closely and say, you know, they're going to try to reach for their license in the glove compartment and they're going to get shot for that. It's beyond me. It's everyone must speak up, because everyone must speak up. It can't be quiet. It can't be tacit. Everyone must stand and declare. This is what has happened all over the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Suddenly, it was just one too many. It was just one too many. A racist president. It was just one too many. It was just the tip, the drop of water that let the bucket spill over. It was just one too many deaths, one too many brazen deaths. Videos of women being caught in strangleholds because they're black, of them being beaten, policemen. I don't understand. I don't understand. If I'd probably say some things that are not lawful here, so I should be quiet.
No, not at all.
I'd probably say something that are not lawful. You cannot do that to human beings. You may not do that to human beings. New Zealand is a country. We saw her reaction when someone went into a church and into a mosque and killed. We saw her reaction. We saw her worship with them. We saw her identify with them. We saw her say, "This is who we are. You will not bring hate." And then some people actively ferment hate. They just shot a man jogging. They shot him for sport. And they filmed it. Hit him with a car, then shot him. And he hadn't even died down. So what were they doing? They were like getting into a role. They were like, they were warming up. Elections are in November. They're going to burn them down.
Yeah.
They're going to burn them down. You can't do that to humans and expect them to be quiet. You cannot do that. One day, there's something we say in Nigeria. One day, bushmeat will fire the hunter. It means the prey will turn its gun on the hunter and shoot at it. That's what America is saying now.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful image, Wole. And I really would love to stay here for hours and hours to talk to you, but we are reaching almost 1 hour of conversation.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. And it was incredible because I love this kind of conversation because you just switch on the live button, and after 5 minutes I just look on the timer. It says 55 minutes. What's going on? We've been talking for
2 minutes, 53,
for so long, so it was really crazy. And I just thank you so much for being here for this conversation, and thank you also to all the people who watched us. And I really wish you a good day and a good afternoon. Maybe it will come in a while. And
thank you.
All the best to you.
I appreciate this very much. And you too. And you too. Enjoy your day.
Yeah.